On February 23, 1836, the Mexican army arrived outside a small Spanish mission in Texas. They didn't ask for a surrender. Instead, they raised a blood-red flag. In the military code of the day, that color meant one thing: no quarter, no prisoners. Inside that mission, Colonel William Travis understood the message. According to the accounts that survived, he drew a line in the dirt with his sword and asked every man willing to stay and fight to the death to step across it. Nearly every one of the 200 men inside did exactly that. What followed was a complete military slaughter. Every fighting man inside those walls was killed. Yet that total defeat is credited with securing the eventual Texan victory in the war. Curious, why did 200 men choose to stay in a trap they knew they couldn't survive? And how did a tactical failure of this scale lead to a change in the borders of North America? To understand the Alamo, we have to look past the frontier mythology and examine how the specific mechanics of a massacre served a broader strategic purpose. By the 1830s, the Mexican territory of Texas was experiencing a massive demographic shift. American settlers were pouring across the border, drawn by the promise of cheap land and economic opportunity. As the population grew, so did the friction. These new settlers wanted more local autonomy and resisted the central authority of Mexico City. At the same time, the Mexican government grew suspicious of a region filling up with people whose loyalties were unproven. This tension caught the attention of Mexican President and General Antonio López de Santa Anna. He was an authoritarian leader who immediately mobilized a professional army to march north and end the uprising. By deciding to personally lead thousands of troops to crush a local rebellion, Santa Anna ensured the conflict would escalate. He was either going to extinguish the Texan cause immediately or give the rebels a reason to radicalize their movement. The Alamo was never built to hold off a professional army. It was an old Spanish mission designed to house monks and local converts, not soldiers. Its walls were thick, but the layout was a sprawling plaza. To defend a perimeter of that size, you need a massive garrison. The Texans only had about 200 men, forcing them to spread thin just to cover the basic defensive positions. Outside, Santa Anna commanded a force several thousand strong. The defenders were outnumbered by more than 10 to 1. From a purely tactical perspective, the Alamo was a trap. The men inside were standing in a position they couldn't possibly hold, making their decision to stay a sacrifice of their lives, rather than a viable military defense of the building. The siege lasted 13 days. The Mexican army systematically surrounded the compound, cutting off all escape routes while slowly advancing their artillery lines to batter the mission's stone walls. The defenders smuggled out requests for reinforcements, but only 32 men managed to slip through the Mexican lines. It was nowhere near the numbers required to change the odds against Santa Anna's force. In the early morning hours of March 6th, the Mexican army launched its final assault. Troops stormed the mission, breaching the walls from multiple directions at once and pouring into the courtyard. The defenders fought room by room, but within a few hours, nearly every man inside was dead. Santa Anna suffered several hundred casualties of his own, a high price for defeating a garrison of only 200. Santa Anna believed this display of force would crush the Texan spirit. He didn't anticipate that the story of the massacre would provide his enemies with a more powerful motivation to fight than they had before. When news of the slaughter spread, it didn't inspire the fear Santa Anna had intended. Instead, it enraged the surviving settlers. The story of the siege turned the lost defenders into a symbol of resistance. Just over a month later, Texan forces under General Sam Houston caught the Mexican army by surprise at the Battle of San Jacinto. As the Texans charged, they used a new rallying cry, "Remember the Alamo." The actual fighting lasted only about 18 minutes before the Mexican lines broke. The victory was the result of a tactical surprise and the extremely high aggression of the Texan troops, who were driven by news of the previous month's massacre. The fallout of San Jacinto was immediate. Santa Anna was captured the next day and forced to recognize the independence of the Republic of Texas. This map shows the resulting borders of the Texas Republic, setting the stage for it to join the United States. That annexation sparked the Mexican-American War, determining if New Mexico, California, and the American West would become U.S. territory. A mission built for monks was a poor fortress. But by holding an indefensible position, those 200 men gave the independence movement a story that outlasted the battle, helping to set the borders of the modern American West.